Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to put on our investigative historian hats and dig into a monumental cold case. We aren't just looking at the slow decline of some random town. No, we are performing a full-blown autopsy on a once massive, grand capital city. A city that didn't just die of natural causes, but was actively dismantled, totally forgotten, and is currently having its very existence scrubbed right off the face of the earth. I want you to listen to this incredibly haunting assessment from a guide at the Jaffarganj Cemetery. Standing there, surrounded by these overgrown, vegetation-choked tombs of past rulers, he said, "If not, this too will decay and disappear like the rest of the city." Wow. I mean, that perfectly sets the stakes for our investigation today, doesn't it? This isn't just some dusty historical event that wrapped up centuries ago. We are looking at an active, ongoing crime scene of a dying city. Section 1. The vanishing capital. You know, to really understand a crime, you first have to understand the victim. So let's map out the lifespan of our subject here, Murshidabad. It was founded way back in 1702 by Murshid Quli Khan, who actually moved the whole capital of Bengal over from Dhaka. And it thrived right up until 1757, when the Battle of Plassey delivered this catastrophic defeat. Fast forward to 1897, and a massive earthquake deals a devastating physical blow. Finally, in 1904, Purna Chandra Majumdar published the Musnad of Murshidabad. Now, this book is absolutely crucial because it essentially serves as our very last comprehensive medical chart, or our main ledger of evidence, showing what this city actually looked like before things went really south. Section 2. Rise of the Nawabs. So, before we look at the fatal wounds, we have to ask, what made this city such a prime target for exploitation in the first place? Well, during the reign of the Nawabs, Murshidabad wasn't just a political capital. It was an unbelievably wealthy Mughal principality. We're talking a massive financial hub anchored by a booming global silk industry. The wealth here was so undeniable, so over the top, that European powers were literally flocking here just to set up operations near the local merchants. It evolved into this vibrant, incredible center of global culture and arts. It was a true heavyweight on the world stage, for sure. Section 3. Forces of destruction. Okay, it's time to line up our suspects. As any good historian knows, an empire rarely falls to a single blow, right? This was a prolonged, multi-generational assault. We've got a pretty diverse cast of accomplices that contributed to the death of the city. On one hand, we have natural forces like the incredibly fickle Bhagirathi River and that devastating 1897 earthquake. On the other hand, we've got human culprits, the British East India Company, and later down the line, a truly shocking level of modern administrative apathy. So let's break these down forensically. First up, nature's toll. The Bhagirathi River is notoriously unpredictable. As it completely changed its course over the last 2 centuries, it literally washed away vital, massive parts of the city, including Suraj Uddaula's Hirjil Palace. Just gone. Then came the 1897 earthquake. A geological survey of India report from the time noted that scarcely a single building was left unscathed. The fabulous new palace of the Nawabs, the one famous for its gorgeous, unique vaulted roof, it was completely reduced to rubble. So nature definitely took the first massive swing at the victim. But then came the corporate takeover. Following that defeat at the Battle of Plassey, the British East India Company began what I can only describe as an excruciating, slow-motion execution of the city. Over the course of a century, they systematically dismantled the capital's entire administration and shifted all the trade, all the focus, straight over to Calcutta. They even temporarily exiled the Nawab himself to Chitpur. I mean, they completely drained the lifeblood right out of Murshidabad, leaving it as nothing more than an empty husk. Section 4. Erasing the evidence. Now, moving into the modern era, the story gets truly disturbing. The real tragedy here isn't just that the city died. It's that the very evidence of its existence is being actively scrubbed away right now. In our 1904 ledger, Majumdar goes into incredible detail about the Kila Nizamat fort, complete with massive defensive walls and a moat. He mentions the Nizamat stables housing elephants, a steam-powered engine for horse feed, and giant clocks. But today, the fort walls are just gone, literally missing, leaving these weird, disconnected bastions popping up randomly around town. And those grand stables, they've been stripped bare of plaster and repurposed into a market for heavy trucks. The constant vibrations from these trucks are actually physically shaking the remaining structure apart. And that brings us to a really telling quote from archaeologist Dr. Tathagata Neogi, who actually tried to map the city. He says, "People do not see Murshidabad as a site, only as a set of disconnected monuments."
And it makes sense, because there are literally no publicly available historical maps. Visitors have absolutely no context. Dr. Niyogi actually found a cluster of ruined temples that he suspects was the old Hindu neighborhood in this Muslim capital, but without a map, he can't even confirm it. The entire blueprint of our crime scene is just missing.
So how does this erasure happen mechanically today? Well, it's a shocking, vicious cycle of historical cannibalism. Step 1, we see this unplanned urban expansion pushing right up against protected monuments. Think cheap hotels literally choking the road right outside Hazardwari Palace. Step 2, older historic structures are actively demolished just to make way for these new developments. And step 3, this is the crazy part, they literally reuse the old historic bricks to build the new, cheap structures. The modern city is literally eating the ancient city to survive. It's wild.
Section 5. A lost culture.
But we've got to remember, the decay here goes way, way beyond missing bricks and mortar. We are facing a massive intangible loss too. The Nawabi culture itself is fading into oblivion, and chief among these losses is the food. The 1904 records mention this absolutely legendary Murshidabad pilaf. It required equal parts rice and ghee, and a chef skilled enough to make the rice absorb all of that perfectly. Today, locals like academic Farooq Abdullah are desperately trying to collect old recipes from the remaining Nawab family members, but sadly, much of this totally unique cuisine has already been lost forever. The city isn't just losing its walls, it's losing its flavor. Section 6. The final verdict. All right, we've examined the body, we've reviewed the timeline. Now, who is to blame today? Dr. Syed Mohammad Reza Ali Khan, who is actually a descendant of Nawab Mir Jafar, points to 3 main culprits. First, fragmented oversight. The state government cares for some monuments, the central government takes others, resulting in absolutely zero coordination. Second, the Nawab family itself. Now numbering over 100 members, they are totally paralyzed by legal feuds over property ownership, meaning nothing gets preserved. But the ultimate killer? Intentional local administrative apathy. As Dr. Khan bitterly notes, if journalists know about this decay, the local administration definitely knows. They know exactly what is happening, but they simply choose to do nothing. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and to this final lingering question. If the history of a once massive global capital can be dismantled brick by brick, repurposed into cheap hotels, and just allowed to vanish under moss and apathy, what else are we allowing to disappear right in front of our eyes? It's pretty sobering thought about the sheer fragility of our collective heritage. So keep that investigative hat on and keep asking questions. Thanks so much for joining me on this autopsy of Murshidabad.